welcome back to my crafty hen house. My name is Elaine, and today I have you in my craft room. I'm going to go over how to create a fake bake Easter sandwich, just like this. Now you can keep this as a sandwich, or you can do them as individual cookies, but we're going to do this one today as a sandwich. Let me direct your attention down to my work table and we will begin. You're going to go ahead and get your Model Magic clay, and what I've done is started preparing the clay, and you're going to want to stretch the clay and really work it and warm it up in your hands until it's nice and pliable. If it tears apart easily like this, it's not worked enough. You want to make sure that it's really soft and pliable and stretches nicely. If you don't, what happens is your clay will crack and not roll out properly. And what I've done is I've used these small dowels. They give me the correct thinness or thickness of the clay that I like my cookies. This is one that's already done, and you can see the thickness of it is the same as the dowel when I roll out my clay. So what I do is I just put my clay on this piece of glass, and we're going to put it right between the two dowels. And then you're going to take this rolling tool and go ahead and roll out your clay on top. Your roller will rest on top of these dowels, and that will give you the proper thickness. I found that this thickness is perfect for the hardening up process of all of my fake bake cutouts that I use. And we are using this carrot cutout today, which is this little cutout. They come in all different shapes. You can get plastic, rabbits. This is a metal egg. But we're using this little carrot cutout. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to cut out your carrot. And I like to cut away the clay. If you don't cut away the clay before pulling up this cookie cutout, this clay will stick to your cutout and it will destroy the cutout, and you'll have to start all over again. So go ahead, pull up the rest of the clay. We're going to move the cookie cutter around slightly, and then we're going to go ahead and use this metal tool to pull up the cookie. And if you have any little parts that stick out from connecting to this glass, just take your dowel, or you can take the end of a, you can take the end of a paintbrush and go ahead and push those in. Roll your paintbrush along the edges, and that cleans up the edge. Just go ahead and roll carefully, and that will clean up your edge. Once that's done, you're going to go ahead and set your carrots aside for about 3 to 4 days and let the drying process complete. I've seen some creators go ahead and paint them. This is very difficult to work with because it is so pliable. You don't want to ruin all of your hard work. So we'll go ahead and we'll set this aside. And then take the rest of your clay, make sure you have it in an airtight package, and go ahead and restore it in the container. After the drying process has completed, you're going to have this hard cookie. Now they will be white, of course. I went ahead and painted them with a blended paint to represent a baked cookie. It's not completely necessary that you do that if you're doing a cookie like this, because you will be painting it the orange and the green. And then we're going to slightly paint the back side. We'll get to that process. So if you're going to make single cookies, you can make as many as you like. If you intend to make these sandwich cookies with the sprinkles, of course you need 2 cookies per set. So once you've decided to either paint your cookies, if you're going to do a single cookie, you can leave the back unpainted and we would touch this up. If you're going to do the sandwich, you can leave them white. Then what you're going to do is you're going to decide the paint colors that you're going to use. This orange I have chosen is called apricot. This is apricot orange. And I've chosen a couple different colors of green for the leaf variation at the top. You don't have to choose different colors. I just chose that so that I could see the different colored streaking. And then we've got the glitter over top of it. So the greens that I've chosen, this one is called a Christmas green. This is lima green, and this one is Kelly green. There's the 3 different greens that I've chosen. And you want to start with the darkest on the bottom and then layer them the next darkest and then the lightest on the very top. So let's go ahead and we're going to get our little paint tray. And to make this easier, I suggest a paint tray or a paper plate and get your paint out and ready. That way you're not having to go back and get more paint. You also are going to want to have, I have an extra bottle of water in case I need to thin my paint, a little bowl with some water in it to rinse out my brushes, and some paper towels so that you can wipe off your tools as you're going along. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to paint our carrots. Now I start with the bottom, the orange, and I'm just using cheap little plastic paint brushes that you can get in the kids section at any department store. So let's start with the orange, and we're just going to make a straight line across the top of the carrot and then go ahead and paint down. And you're going to want to go around the back side. Go ahead and do your edges. And you're going to want to go straight over the edge to the back side. You don't have to do it perfect. Again, there's going to be covered with glitter. So this is perfect coverage. And we're just going to go slightly on the back side because with our cookies or ice cream sandwiches, we're going to have the white fill, and you want to make sure that the underside of the cookie is painted as well. So we'll slightly go along the back side. It doesn't have to be perfect. And of course, you're not going to see the middle. So we'll do that, and then we'll set this aside. And how I like to dry them when I'm doing the front and the back is you just want to set them touching your glass tray and kind of standing up on a little plastic container or whatever you want, an extra cookie cutter. All right, let's do our second cookie. Again, we're going to go on the edges. And we're going to wrap around to the back with the paint. Do your straight line and then go down. And let's do the last cookie. We'll have 2 sandwiches and 2 cookies when we're done. Now, if you decide to do this, say for St. Patty's Day, I've made some cutouts of shamrocks. The cutouts that I have for these shamrocks have a stem that curves, which means when you get ready to make your cookies, if you're going to do the sandwiches, you're going to also keep in mind of your pattern. Let me see if I can get, I use this little shamrock cutout to make these cookies. And as you can see, the shamrock, the stem curves in one direction. So of course, when you're going to put your cookies together, you're going to want to they're going to have to go on top of one another so that the tail goes in the same direction. If you try to put them back to back, you're going to see where they don't match up at the stem. So you're going to have the top and one right on the top. So your flat edge is you're going to have a flat edge here on top of your rounded edge of the cookie, so that when you make your sandwich, the bottom tail matches up, always keeping in mind. Now the carrots are very easy just because they're the same design and there's no curvature or anything to them. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to let these dry, and then we're going to start putting the green on and putting the back together. Now that the carrots are all dried, we're going to go ahead and we're going to paint the top of the carrot. Again, you can leave these in one solid color, or you can make them variegated like I've done with these. As you can see, it doesn't really matter, but I just like the bit of a variegated color. And I'll show you how I go ahead and do that. So I'm going to use, again, my little paint brushes. We're going to go into the darker green first. And I'm going to go on the back side and just paint the back side. That will be the side that will be facing inside. And we want to make sure that we get all around the edges. And we're just going to go slightly over the top. And you don't have to wait between drying to do your different variegated greens if that's what you decide to do. So I'm just going to go again right across that orange line that we had and brush up. And there you have it. That's the top of the carrot with one color. I'm going to lean that again on my little box so that it dries while I do the other two. Again, you're going to slightly go across the back so that when you do your ice cream sandwich that nobody will see the bit of the cookie if it shows. And you go right across that line. And then do your edges. I also might note that when you're doing the ice cream sandwiches or the double cookies with the fill, you want to choose cookies that are similar in width or depth, I should say. Some might end up a little thicker than others, and it just is a little nicer if you go ahead and make sure that they're the same thickness when you put them together. It's a little bit easier to work with and looks a little bit nicer. So we're going to go right across that orange line that we had made and give it a nice brush. Set this one aside and go ahead and do our third one. Now, if you're making regular cookies out of these and not the sandwich cookies, you can go ahead and leave the back plain and then just touch up the edges or any little scuff marks, and you can leave it just plain. You don't have to paint it, or you can and go ahead and glitter both sides. It's strictly up to you. You make it exactly as you want. There's no wrong way when you make these fake bake cookies. They're just really, really nice on your counter during the Easter celebration to fill in a little dome that you might have that's empty, and you can just layer all these cookies, and they're really, really adorable. So okay, we're now going to go to our second color, and the second color is just sort of sweeping. I take my paintbrush and I dip it slightly into my little bowl of water, and I just go on the edge of my next darker paint just to get a hint of the paint on the brush. And then you're going to want to start at the bottom towards the carrot, at the bottom of your green where it would meet the orange. And you're just going to want to start in the middle and slightly drag up and then come out diagonal and diagonal this way. So it's just a slight sweeping motion. You can cut into that orange line, and that's it. So this is your second color. And then we're going to go ahead and do each carrot. Now, I had mentioned that you don't have to wait between the drying for the green. That way it blends in nicely. So again, put your paintbrush towards the orange, and you're going to sweep up and then outwards ever so slightly, and then outwards the opposite direction coming towards you. And you can cut in slightly to that orange line. And that's the second coat on that cookie. And again with the third. Meeting at the orange, we're going to pull up slightly. You have one single line. And then you're going to grab your paintbrush again at the orange line and pull outwards ever so slightly. Just feathering out the paint across, cutting in to a bit of that orange line. And that's our third. I noticed on this carrot here, I had missed a few little spots, which we can dip right into the dark and touch those up. And that's not going to affect anything. Again, there's a little bit on this one. We're just going to touch up. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and rinse off our brush, and we're going to do our third color. Same process, same exact process. You're going to take a little bit of water on your paintbrush. We're going to use the lighter color green. Cut into it slightly just to get the paint on the brush, not a lot. You don't want it to be runny. If you feel that it's too runny, go ahead, wipe your brush on a paper towel until you feel the right consistency. And then go ahead, take your cookie, go to the center and pull up, and then brush out again. And that just gives you that ever so slight coloration. You can also leave these alone at this stage if you'd like. and you don't have to put glitter on them. I like the touch of glitter. It kind of hides any mistakes I might make. But you can go ahead and leave it alone if that's the look that you're going for. You don't have to put any glitter. You don't actually have to go anywhere from this point. Your cookies can literally be done. So again, we're going to go slightly up and out, and then sweeping again towards us. There's number 2. And then we'll do our third. Slightly touching your paint, and then sweeping up and out. Just sort of follow the directions of the carrot tops. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to let those dry. If you maneuver them right now before you let them dry, they will blend and you might get finger smudges. So you want to let these dry well, and then you can go ahead and we can start putting them together. The next step to this process is we're going to go ahead and put some diamond dust glitter on top of the cookies. Now you can skip this step, or you can add it to both cookies, but you want to just go ahead, lightly dip your brush into your Mod Podge and cover the front of your carrot, the green and the orange, or you can just do the orange or just the green. It's strictly up to you, whatever your decision is, how you would like it to appear. And we're just going to paint it on lightly. And then go ahead and set your carrots on top of a paper plate. Don't be scared to be generous with your glitter. You can just undo the lid. Go ahead and pour the glitter over top of each carrot generously. And let that sit there for a moment. Then you can pick your carrot up, tap it off to get the excess glitter. And then you're going to set these aside and let these dry so that when you're working with them, you're not going to pull off the glitter that you just put on. You can tell there's a bit of a milky look to them. That's the Mod Podge. It will go clear when they're completely dried. So we're going to let these dry. Then we're going to take a brush and slightly brush off this glitter. You want to be careful with diamond dust glitter. Let me put this away. The easiest way is just take your paper plate, tip it back into your container, and I tap on the back side to make sure that it all goes in the container. But like I was saying, you want to be careful with this diamond dust glitter. This is actually crushed glass. And if you're trying to brush off your projects with your hand, it's very easy to get a little shard in your finger. I did that earlier. So you want to be really careful and use a stiff brush. I have this little brush and it's quite stiff, as you can tell. And you're just going to take your finished carrot once it's completely dried, and you're going to brush off any excess just by going like this. So carefully. That way you're not getting a little piece of this crushed glass. Now you can use other glitters. Most fake bakers use this diamond dust because it's the most, it's the shiniest and picks up the best light. But go ahead, use your brush just on the safe side. And I recommend that for any project that you're getting rid of excess diamond dust from. All right, let's let these dry and then we'll come back and we'll start putting this Easter cookie together. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start putting our little cookie together. And as you can see that there is a space between each cookie so that we can get our fill in properly. And in order to create that space, I went ahead and you take a tissue roller. You're gonna take a tissue roller and take a ruler and mark off 1/4 of an inch on your roll. So I'm going to move this up a little and do 1/4 of an inch. Is about there. And you're going to continue to go all the way around your cardboard tube, and you're going to cut out, then we're going to cut this out. We're going to mark it off 1/4 of an inch, and we're back around. And so the next step that we would do is I'm going to take this roller and cut it right in half. This is the easiest way to create the thickness evenly. You're going to take your scissors and match up to the lines that you created of the 1-inch mark and cut right on top of those lines as you go around. And the scissors will give you your straight line as you match up to another line. And then you have your 1/4 inch piece of cardboard. I take this then and I cut it directly in half, and you're going to make a small circle. And how I do that is I take a little piece of Scotch tape, I create a circle, I bring the two ends together, and then you're going to take your tape, put it on the inside, and then wrap the tape around the middle at that seam to create yourself a little circle. Now don't be afraid if it's not a complete even circle, because one of them we are going to elongate for the carrot. Then we're going to take another one, go ahead and make your circle, get your small piece of Scotch tape, wrap it around from the outside to the inside and back to the outside again, just a small piece, and then you have your circle that's connected. Then you're going to take your 2 carrots that we've completed with the glitter, or no glitter, it's completely up to you, or you can glitter after you're done, it's completely up to you. And remember the back side, we went slightly around the edges with the green paint so that our the filling on the inside, if it didn't completely come out of the cookie, that it wouldn't show any of this cream color. Now we're going to take these round circles that we just created, we're going to use our hot glue gun and put glue. Now I suggest you can either, if you can hold this without burning your fingers, or get a pair of tweezers, anything that's helpful. And then we're going to take our glue and we're going to go right around the piece of cardboard circle, and you're going to put that in the very middle on the back side of your carrot like this. This is what's going to create the separation. And then we're going to take our second circle and we're going to actually make that into more of an egg shape, because we want to allow space on either side of the end for the filling when we put the filling on. So let's go ahead, and we're going to also put our hot glue on this all the way around the circle, and go ahead and put that in the middle of more like an egg shape. And you're going to let that set up, and that is what's going to create the height between the 2 cookies, so that when we stack them and we go ahead and we can put the filling evenly around. That's why it's so important to make sure that the depth of each cookie is about the same, as well as when you're making your cutout, that is exactly the same. I use 1/4 inch. You could use more. It's completely up to you. So then when we're waiting for that to set up, we're going to go ahead and take our glue gun again, and we're going to go around both of these cardboard little cutouts that we created. And we're going to add glue to that and quickly add your carrot. Whoops. And flip it upside down so the glue that we just put on there is going to drip down onto the other cookie. This is the time you want to make sure that your cookie is nicely lined up, that one is not out this way, that they're even at the ends. And you're going to want to hold it in the middle and make sure that the distance between the cookies remain the same. And just hold it, and then you're going to let that continue to harden, and it won't take very long at all. Also, I might add that when you get your filling on the inside, that is eventually going to create a glue itself. When it adheres to the cookies, they're not going to come apart. In essence, what we're trying to do is just create a space in here that's even for our filling. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our filling in between our cookie. And I'm using this tip. It's called an 801. It's one of the smaller round open tips. There are larger ones, but you want to use the smaller one that goes between the cookie, that fits nicely between the cookies so you can build up. The larger hole will create all your filling going on the outside because you can't get between the two cookies. So again, this is an 801. We're going to use a piping bag and drop our tip into the bottom of the bag. And how you open the tip of your bag is I push the tip all the way down and find out how much I need to snip off and move it up just about 1/2 inch and then snip off the end. And then your tip will come out. If you feel that you need to have a little bit more, go ahead and push the tip back up, and we're going to snip off again until your tip comes out. Now, because this is such a small cookie, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this bag head off so that it's not such a cumbersome piping bag to hold such a small amount of the spackle. Then I'm going to go ahead and turn over my bag, just the top of it, so that I can keep the outside of the bag clean when I turn it back over to start using it to pipe. Again, I use this Fast and Final lightweight spackle. This little container, I've labeled it white. I've added paint to it so that it gets bright white. Plus the consistency of it stays nice when you add the paint to it. It gets a little smoother. Mix up your spackle and go ahead and you're going to fill your bag. Not too full because this is a small cookie. If you were doing a large quantity, I would say, yeah, you're going to need a lot. That is why I cut off the bag, because I know I don't need a lot. Make sure to put your lid back on tightly till it clicks so that you're not drying out your spackle. And again, with your tools, you're going to wipe your tools off. Don't put the spackle down your sink. All right, I'm going to open my bag back up to the top, roll the outside out. And you can use your hand to push this spackle down to the end, but you can also use your little rolling pin, and that way it stays nice and flat until it just comes out the end. And put that back. Go ahead and wipe off that tip. And now you're going to take your little piping bag and you're going to pinch at the bottom where it starts to crinkle, and then just give it a slight twist. And that's going to move all of the spackle up to the top tip, and you can just see it come out. Then you can turn it over into your hand and hold it like this, almost like a pen. And then we're going to pick up the cookie, and you can start at any section of the cookie that you want to. And I like to start up at the top. And you're going to take the tip and you're going to push the tip right in. And I push and I lift and push and lift and push and lift all the way around. And it gives it a nice rim. And when you're putting the spackle in, you don't want so much spackle that it's going to start coming out and overlapping the edge. And you get right to the tip, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn again. Start up and pushing it in and lifting it and pushing it in and lifting it. And you'll see the spackle build up inside the cookie. Pushing in and turning out. Pushing in and turning out. And then you can just fill in where you feel you need to fill in as you go around. You can be generous, and at this stage, you can just leave your cookie if you like, but I prefer to add some sprinkles to mine. So I'm going to go ahead. You're going to take your piping bag if you're done making your cookies, and go ahead and twist the piping back into your container all the way down. And then you're going to take your tip out and make sure you clean your tip really nicely. Again, don't put the spackling down the drain because it will harden and it'll clog your pipes. Now, what I've chosen to do is add the sprinkles. So I've taken my sprinkles and I put them in a bowl where they can kind of mound up. And then you're going to take your little cookie and you're going to just dip in the mound and continue around, mounding them up as you go so that your sprinkles are all over your frosting that you have inside your cookie. And then the last thing you're going to do with your cookie is, as you can see, that the leaves, there's a distinct shape to your leaves. If you want to preserve that shape to your leaves, you just take the end of your paintbrush and just push down onto each one of these little creases, and all of your little spackle as well as your toppings will push right into those little crevices, and then you'll be able to recreate those little indents where your leaves are. Thank you again for joining me at my Crafty Hen House and creating this little fake bake Easter carrot. It's a little sandwich, and we've done the little cookies, and right now I have a beginning set that I'm going to be displaying on my kitchen counter for Easter. But again, I want to say thank you. I hope that this was helpful in teaching you how to make a fake bake little carrot sandwich, and I have many other crafts that I'm going to be creating and coming on and showing you the easiest way that I found to make them. If you have the opportunity, take a look at my other videos I've created. I have a lot of different projects going on here at my home, and I do baking, I do canning, I'm creating a new garden for this spring and getting my seeds in the ground. I also have bees that I'll be extracting honey from within the next couple months. So if you find these videos helpful, I'm so grateful that you're taking a moment to come and check them out, and maybe that I can make things a little bit easier for you around your home. But thank you again for coming, and until next time, God bless.